Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
One of my favorite and most accomplished professors, one who actually really emphasized the teaching aspect of being a rabbi for us at rabbinic school, was Rabbi Elliot Dorff. However, I do have to point out that there was one lecture that he would give more than once, which didn't quite connect with most of us sitting there in class. He said, look, Judaism has a problem called a low birth rate. We do not have a replacement population birth rate. That is to say, the average Jewish family has fewer than 2 children. That means, if you can work out the demographic chart, that over time will be gone. But don't fret, said Rabbi Dorff, there's an easy solution. Have a 3rd child. Boom! No problem. 1 more kid, and now you are turning the arc up rather than down. And you know what he also would say? After the Shoah, the horrible tragedy of the Holocaust, well, those 6 million are not having children of their own, so really you should have 4 kids. Right? 2 just to make replacement, a 3rd to be able to increase, and 4th because we are trying to catch up to the pre-war Jewish population curve. And we politely would sit and listen, and then we would move on to the material. Now, it wasn't wrong that there was a problem, and I don't just mean for the Jewish population. There is a general problem within many nations of a negative population curve. Those of you here that are boomers may know that you were a certain surge through the population, but in the wake of the baby boomer generation, not only did birth rates return to normal, but they have been slipping ever since, which means our population graph is a little misshapen. We have more at the top than we do at the bottom, and that is not healthy for a society. We need to have young people to work jobs, to provide for all of the needs of society, even as many other people are, thankfully, having a longer and longer period of elderly life, hopefully in good health and in full capacity. But it does mean they are out of the workforce at that point, and the younger people need to absorb the responsibilities. If there are fewer of them, that's harder. And this is not a uniquely American problem, although America has found one way to manage, which is through immigration. Our curve looks different than the curve of many other Western countries because of 1st and 2nd generation immigrants who still have the older population curve within their communities. But if you were to go to a country like Italy or to South Korea, you would find that very shortly there is going to be a half of the population that there was just 50 years ago. They are in a steep decline, and so too Russia as well, one of the underlying issues that they are wrestling with as a nation. And it's weird, because this seems to be a infectious condition. Like I said, most Western nations have a negative growth curve, or barely replacement, depending upon which country you are in. Israel is one of the few that still has a positive growth curve, despite being a Western democracy. And people have said that perhaps this is a very strong correlation, perhaps a causation. Perhaps there is a certain stage in human development of societal progress that once we have moved past the agrarian stage, once we have moved past famine and drought and pestilence, that people stop having as many children as they used to. You don't need them to work your farm. You don't need them to take care of you in your old age because you've got other means of support, at least ideally. And indeed, there does seem to be some strong correlation to this. You can map in most countries that as the standard of living improves, the number of children decreases. Despite having more resources to spend on children, people elect to have fewer, almost as though, for many, the original decision, subconsciously, of course, was to have children as a survival mechanism. But even with that correlation, it does not explain entirely why many parts of our species seem to be not having enough children to the point of eventually vanishing. It seems that biologically we should have a barrier to that. Our genes should want to live on, and they should be ringing the alarm bells in our heads and telling us, have more babies or else my genes are going nowhere. But there seems to be another intervening barrier to people having children. And it's important if you actually listen to young people in these countries, they'll explain to you why they are not having as many children. It's not actually a mystery if you ask the people who are the likely parents. It is because they are depressed. They do not have hope for their future. They are often overworked. They are often overstressed. They feel that having children is an incredible responsibility and an incredible problem. Indeed, in this week's Torah portion of Parashat Noach, we see in the Midrash that Noah asked this exact same question. God comes to the ark and says, Noah, it's time to come out. It is surprising, says the Midrash, that God would have to tell Noah this, because the ark was sitting on dry ground. Why would Noah need an invitation to leave the ark? Surely after being cooped up with the animals for all that time, he would have been down the gangplank the moment it came aground. But no, says the Midrash, Noah didn't know what his future would be. He had just witnessed the greatest cataclysm a person could imagine, and now he is supposed to leave the ark, and as God says, you and the animals will be fruitful and multiply, you will repopulate the earth. The Midrash says that Noah asked, why would I bother? Why would I bother? If I get out there and I have more kids and my kids have more kids, you're just going to wipe out the earth again. Things are just going to go sideways again. There's going to be more war, there will be more theft, there will be more murder. The whole place is just going to go to pieces. What's the point of bringing a child into a world like that? And so God promised that God would never do such a thing. God will never destroy the world again. That it will be the individual who bears the responsibility of their crime, and that God will never engage in a wholesale reset of the world, but that each person will have that opportunity. Noah accepted this and went out and ended up having problems with his family already, but at least there was some glimmer of hope. For many young people, they have difficulty these days finding that glimmer of hope. How will they cover daycare? How will they cover the medical expenses? How will they cover the time needed away from work in order to be able to raise a child well when they are also being forced to work to be able to put food on the table, a roof over their head, and the basic necessities of life into their family? It is a true problem. And if, no offense, Rabbi Dorf, we wish to encourage people to have 2, 3, 4, or more children, we need to make sure that we hear those complaints. We need to make sure we hear their despair, and we need to work as a community to help support them, to make sure that when a young person comes in, that we greet them with joy, that when a person is being raised towards the light of Torah, that we celebrate together, and that when young people are looking for help and assistance, we as a community are there to stand by them. It is the least we can do. We know how precious a child's life can be, and we know how beautiful a life can be together with children. But as someone once said, it does indeed take a village, not just for the labor of raising a person, but for the inspiration to let them know that indeed times will get better, that there is hope, and that together we will make a place fit not only for ourselves, but fit for each generation that comes after. Shabbat Shalom.